So Shedeur Sanders could totally change the Cowboys' approach in the NFL draft, and the latest mock draft shows how. Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Mauricio Rodriguez here at A to Z Sports Dallas. Today, we are breaking down the Cowboys' decisions in Destin Adams' latest mock draft. Shout out to Destin, A to Z Sports NFL draft expert. He put together a 2-round mock draft that presented a very intriguing scenario for Dallas. And the key to it all was Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback out of Colorado. Now, quick disclaimer, the Cowboys are not picking Shedeur Sanders. They would never do that realistically in the first round of the NFL draft. I don't see how it could happen at all. So you can forget about all that. However, if Shedeur Sanders was to tumble in the NFL draft, there could be some very interesting windows that open up for the Cowboys. And in this case, it was a trade. We've talked about the Cowboys potentially trading out of the number 12 spot. And in this scenario, Sanders was there when the Cowboys went on the clock, which prompted a trade with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, in this mock trade, I would argue the Cowboys get a very profitable return. They go from number 12 to 21. And in addition to that, they get a third rounder of this year's draft, number 86, and then the 2025 second rounder from the Pittsburgh Steelers, which if we look at win projected totals, it should be around the middle of the second round of 2026. This is a solid return. If you look at last year's trade from the Cowboys with the Detroit Lions, when they jumped from 24 to 29, they got a third rounder in return. It was the 76th overall pick, with which they got center Cooper Beebe. This time, though, they get that second rounder to really make up for the fact that you're jumping from 12 to 21, which is a massive jump. In the scenario, the Steelers get Sanders. And let me tell you this, by the way, by this point, when the Cowboys were on the clock, Omarion Hampton was off the board. Ashton Jeanty was off the board. Ted McMillan was also out of there. So it was a very realistic trade down scenario for Dallas. Now, the bad news is at 21st, you're just missing out on that day one impact maker, in my opinion. Destin Adams has the Cowboys selecting in this scenario at 21st overall a running back. Yes, a third running back in the first round, and that would be Quinton Judkins out of Ohio State. Now, listen, I'm not doubting Judkins' ability to run the football at the NFL level, and maybe his power allows him to be a 3-down back, but I'm really not a fan of picking someone not named Ashton Jeanty at the running back position in the first round. I even have questions about that. I'm not a fan of the Omarion Hampton discourse. Judkins at 21, I wouldn't be a fan of it, but I understand where it's coming from. The Cowboys have talked a lot about boosting the run game, being physical, and Quinton would help them do that. And additionally, he is among the Cowboys' top 30 visits that we know of, so there's obviously some interest there. Now, it was a 2-round mock draft, and in the second round, the Cowboys go and they address their need for offensive line depth by drafting Jonah Savainaea. This would be a pick that really gets some competition going for the Cowboys, maybe at the right guard spot with Brock Hoffman, but also maybe even at right tackle in Terrence Steele. I wouldn't think that the Cowboys would bench Steele for a second-round rookie, but there could be something there in training camp if Jonah shows out, right? This is only a mock draft, but it is that time of the year. We're going to start looking at many more of this, but the main takeaway here is if Shedeur Sanders drops, man, that could open very interesting avenues for the Cowboys, be it a trade down or maybe Ashton Jeanty ends up falling, because the teams that could be interested in Sanders could also be interested in Jeanty. So something to watch out for when the NFL draft comes around. Let's stay tuned.